Hello and welcome to our webinar titled Transforming Product Development Using OnePlan to Boost Efficiency and Innovation. We hope you find this insightful, and as always, if you enjoy this topic, please take a look at our YouTube channel for additional educational material.
Appreciate all of you who have joined us here today for this topic regarding product development and how OnePlan can address the needs of those and some of the challenges that they face that need to be addressed to boost efficiency and innovation. So with that, let's move forward. Let's first talk about some trends that are shaping product development departments and organizations today. And this is just a subset of many that they face. You know, there's the whole idea of sustainability and eco-friendly design, you know, whether it be the materials that are being used, whether it be the principles being designed for longer life and easier recycling and those types of things. Once again, just another added piece of complexity that's added to our product development efforts. And then there's artificial intelligence and machine learning. This is to do things like, as we embark and decide what to work on, predicting market trends, you know, personalizing our customer experiences and automating the things that we do in order to optimize performance. And we'll talk today about AI, and there's AI design tools specifically that consist in creating more innovative and efficient product designs that are out there. And then we're trying to get faster and more responsive. So things like rapid prototyping and more agile development is a trend for many organizations, you know, adopting these agile methodologies and rapid prototyping, you know, including things like 3D printing and digital twins, gives us more quicker iterations and a more flexible development process. The idea here is to reduce our time to market because we are more compressed on the things that are expected. And always there's the regulatory and ethical considerations. You know, we have to comply with regulations and navigate complex regulatory requirements. And we have products that need to be accessible to people with disabilities, and we have to better ensure privacy and data security as we get more technology involved, and just the ethical implications of AI and how we use that. And then there's the demand on the customer side for more personalization and customization, and there's a trend towards, you know, more personalized or customizable products that can meet the needs of individual consumer preferences. We see this in a lot of specific industries, and customizable options are becoming more common, meaning more options, meaning more complexity in our efforts. And then collaborative development platforms. You know, we need to, in this day and age of people more working remotely or geographically dispersed global teams, for example, across different locations, having platforms that allow us to collaborate and do our product development effectively in that mode is important. And tools that integrate the aspects of product development, all the way from ideation, all the way through to production. The idea is to streamline our processes and improve efficiencies, and those are challenges and the trends that we face today. And then a lot of our products are more connected today, and the rollout of 5G technology and, you know, the development of more connected devices, we can now leverage faster data speeds, which makes more things possible, even especially in areas like augmented reality and virtual reality, some of which can be used in product development. So in tandem with this, there's challenges that are faced by product development, and some of the trends, you know, raise their challenges in and of themselves. But rapid technological changes, the speed of change keeps advancing. The change keeps coming faster, and the pace of technological advancement requires us to continuously innovate and adapt. We have to be agile and adaptive. Keeping up with emerging technologies, you know, can be challenging. Then there's market uncertainty. You know, trying to understand and better predict market trends and consumer preferences is a hard thing to do. And these are changing rapidly, and the market windows are shorter than they've ever been before. And we have to be producing what's in demand and what's relevant in the marketplace at any given point in time. And compound that with shorter product life cycles, meaning what we develop probably has a window that's much shorter than it used to be in the past. And products are becoming more obsolete more quickly. And so, you know, this is driven by the fast pace of innovation and the fast changing of the market dynamics. This requires faster development cycles and continuous updates to the products that we have. Global competition is something that's important, meaning we're facing competition on more fronts, meaning we have to be even more on top of our game with innovation and strategic marketing to differentiate ourselves. And then this is a resource-constrained market. Finding the right resources at the right time and the skilled personnel can hinder the development process. And efficient resource allocation and management of those resources on the right things is paramount of importance to us. And then there's integration with the existing systems. As we do new things, do we have to dovetail with things that already exist and technologies that we've already used or developed? And just the merging of these things can be complex in and of themselves and add complexity to any given product development effort to ensure that we have compatibility and smooth operation once we do it. And given things like the pandemic and the economic conditions out there, global supply chains are vulnerable to disruptions. And managing this is a risk and a continuous challenge to monitor and make sure that we work with. Data management and analytics. We have more data than ever to analyze and help us do things like predict trends and figure out where we are or where we should go. And ensuring data privacy and quality and deriving actionable insights are critical in this task. And how do we harness all this data that may be coming at us from many different directions? And then cross-functional collaboration, because effective product development requires synchronization across all the functions, not only just aligning with the strategies of the organization, make sure we're going all in the same direction, but the various functions, including engineering and design and marketing and sales and bringing these things to market and collaborating on a timely basis and in a coordinated fashion so that we get the outcomes we want for, becomes more and more challenging in this complex day and age. So addressing these challenges involves being adaptive in our strategies, investing in continuous learning and development, and leveraging advanced technologies and fostering a culture of innovation and collaboration rather than siloed operations. So if we look at the common components of product development projects, there's the market research and analysis we talk about to identify the need and do competitive analysis and get feedback from our customers or potential customers. There's the whole concept development, the idea generation, feasibility, and the concept testing and those types of things. The planning and design, the product specifications, designing and prototyping, project planning of going through this entire initiative and effort. Then there's the development, the engineering and technical, the software and hardware, the iteration and testing of all that. The testing and validation, whether it be general QA, user testing, and even compliance testing to make sure we're meeting our compliance requirements. And manufacturing and production, we have to plan for the production of what we're developing. We have to get the right parts and components in the supply chain, and then pilot production to make sure that once we turn the switch, that we can produce these things in the volumes that we need to. And then the marketing and launch, we have to coordinate this with a whole marketing strategy to bring this to the market and a sales strategy and how we're going to get this in the hands of the customers and how we're just going to launch this overall in coordination with product development and manufacturing. And then obviously there's the post-launch and review support that has to happen to make sure that we continuously improve and make the modifications that the market and the customers are demanding. So once again, this is not all comprehensive, but these are common components that we find. And the idea is that we have to get this all going together in order to succeed. Now, observations in product development is that product managers owning specific products, tend to focus solely on their specific initiative without regard to integrations across products. And this was found in a study and a paper done by the Gartner Group in optimizing outcomes of program management across product lines. And the whole idea of agile, when we talk about ideally having dedicated agile teams for a particular product, we find that that's not necessarily a reality in most organizations, as they're still utilizing and sharing resources across teams. So it's not that simple, even though that's more the ideal concept. And so the recommendations that we must provide more adaptive program management practices so that we can define a shared vision across the organization, across all product lines and products, of realizing the strategic objectives of the organization and aligning ourselves with that, and improve coordination and engagement across our products so that we identify and mitigate or prevent collisions across the roadmaps or things that might hinder any one of them across the board. And then just the effective orchestration across product delivery by collaborating with product managers or teams to proactively address these things, or things such as resource contention, especially if we're sharing resources still and don't have dedicated teams. Now, the other piece is this agile approach is really about a product orientation to be more responsive. Instead of having these big monolithic long duration projects, now that we have shorter market windows, is we need to break work into smaller pieces and easier to manage and deliver so we can get value sooner, get them out into the marketplace, and then evolve and modify those things once we get that initial offering out there. And organization and performance management must also transform if we're going to change into an agile approach rather than the old waterfall approaches that we used to do. So the model that we're looking to do is, instead of the more traditional waterfall plans where we have a big bang at the end, it's to break these into smaller blocks or chunks and then really have continuous product roadmaps to get that first version of a product out there and then continuously develop against this into releases or versions that we can manage and monitor, get that out in the marketplace and deliver value more incrementally and sooner so that we can beat our competition to the marketplace. And ideally, instead of more of a project structure, it's really defining a product structure where we have product lines or product families and then the individual products within them that we manage according to that. The key would be to deliver this value sooner, deliver that minimum viable product or MVP early on, right? Rather than wait for a long duration development effort, deliver something and find that the market window has passed us by or the market dynamics have changed significantly to where we're not actually hitting the mark. So to do this, we need product portfolio management in the mix, not just product management of an individual product. It's about developing and implementing a comprehensive and profitable business strategy for your company's entire product line or product lines. And this discipline goes way beyond singular product management and day-to-day project management. It's really about understanding the goals and the benefits and the strategies that you're looking for, and also to transform the company so that we can address this stuff in a coordinated fashion. The purpose is to look at every product a company offers and see how well it meets the company goals, and knowing when we should, abandon something, when we should pursue other things, or when we should enhance the things that we're working on. It's an ongoing analysis of the performance of our current products, as well as market trends for the development of the future things that we need to embark upon in order to stay relevant and vibrant. And it's where decisions are made about which product lines to expand, which to shrink, and what future opportunities should be pursued. So the strategic objectives of this is to save a company resources, put our resources on the right things that are going to drive the revenues that we're looking for. And that may differ based on the kind of company we are. If we're a well-established company with a diverse portfolio of products, they typically build their product portfolio strategy around expansion of the products that they have. Now, alternatively, a company might expand by, adapting their products to reach new audiences and modify them for different use cases of things that they're already doing. Or a company might also acquire other businesses to bring on new ideas, new products, and new sources of revenue. While a very small company who's emerging with fewer resources, they might focus inwardly to cut costs and increase efficiency. And with a smaller portfolio of products, each product holds more weight, but by focusing more, and it might cost us less and improve profit margins for where we are today as we try to grow into that larger company. So the benefits is to really constantly evaluate our product performance when we have portfolio view of all this. Increase our efficiencies by looking at what's working and what's not. Improve our competitive ranking by tracking market trends and evaluating against our existing and potential portfolios so that we meet the market trends. And then centralize our data so that we get better comprehensive analysis in a single source of data from our entire portfolio of products and product lines. And it also helps us determine and prepare for risks that we face, that we said that there are many out there in this particular marketplace. So most folks in this business find that product portfolio management can help us make decisions more in line with the reality of our product successes or lack thereof, and do things more realistically and more return on investment focused. Now, OnePlan provides a path to strategic portfolio management that can be applied to product development. For example, we talked about strategies. Our business leaders are going to devise strategies and strategic execution plans, and they may have objectives and key results, or they may have established certain value streams that we are going to align with within that organization. On the execution side, our product development or other types of project management are going to execute on the things, and hopefully we're aligned so that we're executing on things that are delivering value towards the strategic goals of our entire organization and of our leadership. And then we also have to factor in other dimensions. So depending on what kind of products we're developing, there is the overall enterprise architecture or business architecture that we have and our ability to deliver those things. For example, if we also are dependent on certain applications and our products are developed and tied to certain applications, we may have to modify, enhance, or modernize those things in order to succeed with the product developments that we have. And then overall product portfolio management to make sure that these other things are aligned with the products themselves. Now, OnePlan enables this by providing the ability to define your objectives and key results of your strategy, the ability to identify the enterprise architecture and business architecture elements that you have in your organization, and then also capture ideas and requests, provide a portal for anyone in your organization. And if you want to open it up to folks external to the organization, you can. But the idea is to open it up to anybody in your organization who wants to submit an idea or a request so that it can be vetted and possibly brought to bear to become a product development effort or some other type of initiative. And then once we have this pool of ideas and requests, we have our active portfolio that we're working, and we are going to have to interject into that these new ideas or the best ones of which we're going to embark and invest upon. And then we might have more traditional portfolio views, we might have more agile board views, and in product development, oftentimes roadmap views are things that are predominantly used in the when we're going to deliver these types of things and where they are in relation to key events. Now, we can't do any of this if we don't have the proper resources, and have overall resource capacity. Visibility is important to make sure that what we're committing to, we can deliver with the skill sets and the resources that we have. There's always the financial component. What's our budget? What's our revised forecast? What are we actually spending? And what's our projections on things like benefits and or revenue that are going to be generated by these new products? And with these rapidly changing market landscapes and the changes in technologies, we have to adapt. So having good what-if scenario modeling is important in this mix. Now, we have to execute. Once we decide what we're going to work on, we have to do work plans. Yes, some people still do waterfall in this realm, and have waterfall work planning is something that's inherent into OnePlan, but also have agile planning tools so that we can do backlogs, sprints, and other types of agile planning in the mix right within OnePlan. Now, given that, we also have the ability to connect to existing planning tools and execution tools you might be working with, the more popular ones. On the waterfall side, we can connect with Microsoft Project, we can connect with Smartsheet and Rike and Monday.com. On the agile side, we can connect with things like Jira and Azure DevOps, which are used out there very, very heavily. And on top of that, we can actually log and manage and assign issues, risks for that important risk management aspect, and change requests that come down the pike. And ultimately, the individual resource requirements on an individual product or project or initiative basis that rolls up into that capacity plan we talked about earlier on is important. Ability to also negotiate the resources you can get from the people that manage those resources in a more matrix type of environment. And then team members provide feedback so we know where we really stand and have everything that's put on their plate be able to have a my work area that can give status back to the product managers and the product portfolio managers. And if you have to report time for capitalization of labor and or chargebacks and or billing to external clients that you're doing this for, that needs to be part of the solution, and it is in OnePlan. And then all the analysis, whether they be individual status reports or dashboards on all aspects of this, or the visualizations on how all these things interrelate. We'll show you a little bit about that in the demonstration today. Ultimately, what we're delivering in products, services products can be products as well. Applications can be products as well. What we're trying to deliver and get the outcomes we're looking for is important. Now, OnePlan, with all the hype around AI, OnePlan actually has a practical, ready-to-use, embedded in the application AI assistant called Sophia GPT, and allows us to better analyze things, help us with initiating work, helps us identify risks or where things might be going off the rails, and also provide some alternatives for us and do some things that in an easier fashion so that we can put our human capabilities to more high value activities than just things like status and those types of things. The key here is to select the right work to do, meaning the right products, and then do the work right in a way that's efficient and effective in delivering. So Sophia GPT, just a little bit about that. For portfolio management, it is purpose built for strategic portfolio and product portfolio management, meaning, it does leverage Microsoft's Azure OpenAI for its general knowledge and learning, but it has also been trained specifically on portfolio management, product management, also leverages the data that you put into OnePlan regarding your planning and execution pieces, such that it factors all of that into its response to your prompts. And it helps us with tasks like data entry, information retrieval, communication, estimation, anomaly detection, etc. And because we're using Azure OpenAI, it's in the Microsoft cloud, not like ChatGPT uses on the open internet. And it provides additional security, compliance, and protection that Microsoft infrastructure provides for all you Microsoft shops that are out there. Now, Sophia GPT is always on in OnePlan, meaning that if you look in the lower right-hand corner, it's always available wherever you are in OnePlan. And it provides you some sample prompts, but you can actually just innovate your own that you want to ask it for different things. And what it is, if you look at the now portion of this, where it's an AI-based assistant for strategic portfolio management, it's an inbuilt AI assistant that we ask it, give it prompts, and it gives us responses to those prompts. We're also working right now on moving to that next future generation of a fully automated mode where it can anticipate what we want or give us some alerts on things that we need to be aware of, and to kind of always be watching to help us and provide assistance where we may not even need assistance as required yet. And this goes in product development as it does for any department or part of the organization. But I would say this, as we talked about early on, coordination between these other areas like a PMO, like sales and marketing, like R&D, these are types of things that we have to coordinate with, and it's really built to allow us to have that collaborative experience that we talked about. That's a challenge and a need in this product development arena. Now, there's a lot of hype, but there's real practical things that we can do today with AI in this discipline. It can help us with strategic planning, it can help us with portfolio optimization, it can help us with work management and risk assessment, it can help us with resource allocation, investment forecasting, and other things today, but these are some of the primary ones that we see people using today. And I'll just give you an example real quick. A recorded version. Let's just say we were building a strategic plan for a product development organization, and we wanted to ask it, what are a list of viable objectives and key results for a product development department? And here I am in the portfolio area of the product, and let me ask it to provide a list of viable. And so it actually is giving me an objective of improved product functionality and performance with key results of reducing product failure, increased speed of performance, and also improve the product's user friendliness. Deliver new innovative products, and give some key results around that, boosting the efficiency of the development process, enhance customer engagement, and then advance the skills and capabilities of our team so that we can meet the needs of advancing technologies. So all pretty relevant things that we could start with as a basis for objectives and key results we put together for our organization, just as an example of how that might work. So with that, I thought I'd go into a demonstration of the product itself. So here, OnePlan has a variety of different functional areas that you can configure, and there's standard ones that come with some templates that get us a good jump start into these things. And I'm going to work with a solution here that's designed specifically for product portfolio management. And in here, I'm looking at a portfolio where I'm looking at what's called a product summary. And in this case, instead of having your traditional, PMO type, portfolios, programs, projects, this one's organized with plan types that has product lines and products in it. And then you can actually have those things dovetail with ideas and requests that are coming in from various sources within and outside of your organization. But then we can actively manage the ones that we select here in a product portfolio per se. In this particular case, I'm looking at a product summary that actually has the different product lines and the individual products that we're working on within those. This one's a more KPI type of oriented type of view of that. but there's a variety of views where you might look at more prioritization, you might look at some product related data, you might look at things like your financials around that, which is really just different columns of data that you're looking at around all that. You'll also notice that we have icons off to the side here, which tells me that am I working this and executing this strictly in OnePlan itself, or am I leveraging other tools here like Microsoft Teams or Azure DevOps or Jira or Microsoft Project to supplement what's going on with the connectors that we talked about in the overview slide on how that's working. And you can slice this any way you want. You can have as much metadata to categorize these things as you want. If I wanted to come in here and look at, say, the products by category, for example, rather than having them aligned strictly with the primary hierarchy of product line, I might want to look at this by the type of product it is and what category it's in, and view it in a variety of different ways. Look at it by who's managing it, look at who's the sponsor of these types of things, etc. The idea is it's a very flexible way to look at your portfolio in these lists. The same thing holds true with boards. In this particular case, if I wanted to look at a board by the state of this, what are we working on that's proposed versus active versus on hold? Maybe I would like to look at this by, once again, product board by product line. And now I've got the different product lines that I have, and I've got the different products that we're working on within those. I've got some red, yellow, green to show me whether or not these things are on track or not. I might even go in here and say, why is the Surface Go 3 red? And I might want to really just pop open this card and look at a quick edit of all the different details that I've decided I want to track around this and determine what's going on with this, both on the timeline, on the overall health. And it looks like it's red because we are off track on our schedule. But all the other details, for example, like how this aligns with different business capabilities or other things like that, maybe identifying different competitors, key results in the objectives and key results that we're aligned with, etc. All this is there at my fingertips, even though I'm in a board that has cards that only show a certain subset of the data. And I can work with this dynamically by moving things around into different columns and different swim lanes. And I could always add a lane in here. So for example, there's no swim lanes in here, but let's say I looked at this and I wanted to add a swim lane by the product category. I can easily look at these in different ways and save these different views by understanding how much is application development, how much is actually new product development, etc. in these particular areas. And then roadmaps are dynamically created in here. So we can look in here and see a roadmap. Let's say, let me look at a roadmap by product line. And so now the swim lanes are the different product lines. The bars are the actual timelines of these particular product development efforts that we have. And you can even have events that they're aligned with. In this case, we got an industry showcase that we're trying to probably get many of these products done for so that we can show them at this industry showcase, for example, and look at it in that regard. You could have different views in here, like where I could say, let me show the product roadmap by the same types of breakouts by product lines, but maybe we have some objectives and key results or strategic cycles that we're trying to meet, and when these things are going to be done to meet certain strategic cycles that we have. So the idea here is you can have flexible roadmaps that are dynamically created that you don't have to build individually as you go through that. Now, asking, if I go into a list and if I go look at the product summary in here, I could ask, and I only have a small subset in here, and you could have a much larger portfolio in here. This demo environment is more limited, but let me just ask it a common question that you might ask it. And I'm going to ask it, which 3 projects are at the highest risk of failure and why? As I ask it this, it's going to take a little bit of time to think. It's not only looking at its own knowledge base of what it knows, but it's actually leveraging dynamically real time the data that it has access to here in the views that you're looking at within OnePlan. It does not store and learn from your OnePlan data, but it leverages it in its response. So as I look at this here now, I can see that it says the Xbox products is at risk in both overall health and in effort. There also appears to be significant effort-related problems as it puts it comparatively at high risk. So it's giving us its assessment based upon some of its indicators as well as some other factors in justifying that. So once again, giving us some analysis that it may take us more on the human side in order to interpret that type of thing. So let me drill into a particular project. So if I drill into the Xbox Next Gen product, and I go into the details page. The details page can be configured to show whatever it is that you'd like it to show around the associated items in here. So for example, in this particular case, the data and metadata that you might want to slice, group, and summarize by, you can determine what those elements are. Here I've got business unit and category and goals and etc. You might have a product vision and a canvas for that type of information that you want to have, where we have vision, mission, and some SWOT analysis, right? You might have a prioritization scheme to get a prioritization score for this, what the timeline is and what that currently stands, what the financials and how those are doing, our overall health, the personas that are involved, and the business competitors that we might have in this marketplace, and the business capabilities that we might be aligned with, the key results in the strategic plan that we're aligned with, etc. So the idea is all the different ways that these things are aligned is here for us to look at. We also have the ability to do work plans. So as I look at this product, we have, just like I had plan types at the portfolio level, I've got work types in here. For example, I would go and look in here and say, our waterfall schedule, if we were doing a more waterfall approach, is in here in this, what we call a schedule work type. You can also have the ability to, even though this one isn't, you could align this with other planning tools. This one we enabled Microsoft Project, but we could also do the same thing with things like Smartsheet and Monday.com, for example. There's a backlog for the more agile approach that we were promoting in the slides. And here we could be doing more, maybe features and user stories that align with the product as we see fit. And also basically do sprint planning in here, such that if we wanted to show and align the sprints, we could show the sprints that we have here and see which elements are aligned with which sprints and which limits we've either hit or surpassed on story points and or hours within that, and show those at any given point in time and plan those things in sprints. And to be quite frank, we have the ability to do both agile and waterfall in the same project, and many customers want to be able to do that, where they actually have a schedule for the waterfall elements and a backlog and sprint type for the actual development and efforts that are going on. So that is possible here, along with tracking things like issues, risks, changes, key decisions, and things like that. So the work planning capability is very robust. And in the backlog, we can also connect agile tools like an Azure DevOps or a Jira and leverage the data that you're using in there to basically populate this from the other tools that you may already be using. Now, the resource plan gives us the ability to determine what resources that we need. And in this particular case, I'm looking at a variety of generic resource types and or named individuals that I have. And I can plan in terms of hours, percentages of allocation, and full-time equivalents or FTEs. I can also at any given point in time say, I have a generic, product manager efforts assigned here, and I haven't really put a name to that yet. So if I was going to look at candidates and try to find best matches, it'll look for available resources that I might be able to use. And I can see that Daniel Williams has a lot of availability in that time frame where I needed a product manager. It looks like I could actually select Daniel Williams and actually replace that resource above, and then get that out of a generic assignment into a named individual. We also have the ability to do financials, such that you can track the financial categories, whether they be labor and non-labor, and manage the total cost of product ownership in here as part of your portfolio management exercise. And we have different types here where you can actually track an original budget, and then maybe track the benefits and or the revenue that you expect to achieve across that, and be able to actually look and compare those things from a time perspective on a time phase basis. Now, the other piece is, as I talked about all these things being interrelated, and there's all kinds of reporting and dashboards we have that are available to you. But I think one of the key things we have is what we call our visualizer, that will allow us, through the relationships and associations we make in here, to determine things like precedence dependencies, to say this Xbox Next Gen has successors that are coming after this that require this to be developed before we can do those. But we also have what's called a runway here. And this runway gives us the product-centric view of this, says here's the projects and epics that we're actually aligned with that are going to help support this, as well as the key results in our strategic plan that we're driving towards. And we can see some that are basically at risk or off track here, and those in turn are aligned with the objectives or the strategies that we have here. So you can have different views and different associations in here for how you would like to look at the relevant associations and dependencies that we have in here and understand where these are at any given point in time. And just like in the board view I showed you, I can look at the details around something that's off track very quickly as I go through here and get a measure of what is actually happening there. Now, ultimately, the projects or products that we work on often come from ideas and requests that come through. And this whole concept of having a portal where anybody, you don't have to be specifically licensed for OnePlan or individually licensed for OnePlan to get this. But the idea is we can come in here and have different ideas in different stages and basically capture the data around the ideas, just like we capture the idea around the products themselves, or we capture the details around the products themselves. We can actually go in here and formulate and bring a new idea into place anytime we like and have it vetted and go through a process. So for example, if one of the idea was to create more Xbox exclusive games, the data that we capture to categorize the metadata around this, to categorize it, narratives that you might want to have regarding a business case, some information regarding the financials, how you want to prioritize this, whether they may be more business driver, oriented, or maybe more agile approaches like weighted shortest job first. The idea is that you can have your own prioritization score generator in here, and then you can align it with things like key results and existing products and things like that with those relationships that we talked about before, right? And you can define your own approval process and workflow in here. The idea being is that when you decide to go embark upon this, and I go back to this idea area, I can actually either through workflow or through having permissions to use this function, I can take this idea or request and I can promote it to a product that we want to work on within the product portfolio, or a project we want to work on in the project portfolio, and carry forth with it all the data that we spent time capturing in this, and not just leave it behind, so we can factor all this in and really have that end-to-end continuum, as we talked about in the slides, going from innovation and idea creation all the way through the execution and delivery and manufacture of these things. So the key there is it can be an end-to-end process for you in here. Now, ultimately, the strategies that we talked about really come from a strategic plan area in OnePlan, where your leadership can define those. And we showed you that video that had the development of a particular set of OKRs for a product development department. But for example, let's just say we have an objective of launch the new product successfully, and we drill into that. Once again, a different type of form that's capturing different data elements in here for these objectives themselves, including things like a time window when we want to have this accomplished, what priority we have on this, what are the key results that are associated with that, right? And as we look at this, I can drill in this, look at the associations, and once again, from an objective-centric view rather than a product-centric view, I can come in here and look at a runway like this and say, okay, from this objective, what are the 3 key results that these are supporting? What are the projects and epics that we have in here? And then what products might they be associated with? In this case, I haven't completed the loop on that. But the idea being is you can see that from an objective perspective as well. This is the way we help promote that strategy to execution alignment that was talked about by Gartner in the slides that we talked about earlier on. Now, ultimately, I showed you a resource plan for one product that we were working on. But what OnePlan does is it aggregates that into a comprehensive resource plan that we might want to look at. And in this particular case, I can look at them by business units, by roles, by any other metadata we're looking at. But this one, I'm looking at it by business unit. And if I expand out the product development area and I look, for example, at, say, Jack Barker, I can see where he is overloaded, right? I can see if I change this to, say, an FTE view, I can say at some places I got them more than 2 times allocated in any given month. I would submit to you that if I had this available to me all the time, I wouldn't over allocate him to that degree at any given point in time. But for this demo purpose, I'm going to try and find a replacement for him on the server upgrades like I did on the individual project. Now it's looking at everything. And as I look at best matches, I can see that I might, within this time frame, it looks like Richard Hendricks probably has the most availability in there. And once again, I could replace Jack with Richard Hendricks. Conversely, I could come in here and I could look at things like developer or engineer types of resources and see what's still assigned generically like I did before, and replace these generics and get names actually tagged to these things as we go through. So once again, overall resource management is something that's accomplishable within here. Now, we talked about the importance of being responsive and adapting to change, and this is where a modeler comes in. This modeler will allow us to set up individual models with active and potential things that we want to work on. In this case, I've got 10 different products that I'm considering. And as I go into that, it looks like if I, try to do all these things, for example, I may not have the resources in all these areas. I still have some red in here to be able to accomplish. So I may choose to go get some more resources, or I can try to optimize some of this. For example, I might put a scenario in place, say, well, what if I only have a $58 million budget? And that $58 million budget, as I select and deselect things to fit within an overall financial frame, it gets me a plan total in here of what's actively selected of under $58 million, right? And as I come and do that, I might decide I might have another alternative I might want to look at where this one gets me 7 of these products embarked upon. What if I could get another $10 million? I could actually do 9 out of the 10 that fit within that budget constraint. And as I want to look at this and look at these alternatives, I may want to take a look at this and say, all right, what is the difference between these alternatives? What does this $68 million budget and $58 million budget going to require? Well, I would say this at an outset. It says for that additional $10 million in spend, I could achieve an additional $13.3 million in benefit and or revenue. Might be worth it for us to go pursue that additional funding because there is some incremental benefit to us to do that. I might even want to look at the details, for example, here of the 58 versus the $68 million budget and see, for example, what's in and what's out and what priority relative it is on all those different things that we're looking at. We could also look at things like a traditional bubble chart that you often see in portfolio management and see what was selected in this $68 million and actually look at what wasn't selected and see based on budget and prioritization scores, should we have reconsidered that gray one as we go through? Or if I want to look at this from the $58 million budget, obviously, if we look at the gray, there's more that's unselected, and there's things that are lower priority and not high benefit. That looks like we may have selected the right things not to do as we go through here. But the other thing to look at is our visualizer can also be used in a different way, such that it can tell us of the things we selected, are there predecessors and successors we need to consider, and should we reconsider based upon the dependencies themselves and or the runway as it exists today. So once again, another valuable way to use that visualizer capability. We talked about things like my work and a timesheet such that people can report against what it is they're assigned to across all work, whether they're backlog items or tasks or whatever it might be, as well as a time reporting mechanism such that they can report on those things as we see fit. So that's kind of a high-level overview of this, and we showed you a little bit of Sophia in this, but I do have, as if I go back to the slides themselves, and I go down here, we do have some use cases that I can flash at you on strategic planning is one area that we might look at in using with OnePlan and Sophia. In this case, you can analyze data to identify patterns, opportunities, and potential risks. And as you go through here, it can look at your data, look at what it knows as good practice and good standards as far as what would identify good and bad. And it basically is telling us that there's patterns that it's seeing of what's happening in the portfolio, opportunities for improving customer excellence, opportunities for transforming the corporate culture, generating more marketing qualified leads for the things that we're working on, and also identifying some risks. So once again, a good thing for us to work with and assess. We can also have AI-enabled work management, which means we can actually help it create plans for us. So for example, as we go through the planning process, as we're embarking upon new things, it might assist us with an AI-driven template where we might ask it to say, could you provide a work breakdown structure or a list of tasks or whatever it might be, or a backlog of the items that we want to work. And based upon what it knows about the data you've put in, it's actually prescribing that, and it's going to allow us to keep that and use this structure as the basis for us starting a plan rather than us starting from scratch. Once again, can save us time and effort in the initiation of these plans and even mapping the resources that it knows we might need. So once again, some things that actually help us in plan creation using AI. And then there's portfolio optimization. We can ask it to provide a summarization of portfolio data, which is similar to what we did before. You know, budget plan and optimization help us based on criteria to help us optimize this portfolio. We can actually have it help us identify risks. So for example, as I go through here, and this one's looking at a specific project, but I can look at this or product, but I can also look at it in terms of the overall portfolio. And this one's going to help me assess the risks that we might have to worry about. Now, potential risks are unauthorized access to personal data, data breaches, cyber attacks in this. And these are privacy risks. We have interoperability and compatibility risks and mitigation strategies. You know, technical failure and reliability risks. And here's some risks and mitigation strategies around those. Once again, helping us formulate that rather than us doing it from scratch. Helping us build resource plans in there. This is kind of cool in the fact that you can ask it based upon what it knows about a particular type of project or product, you know, what type of resource plan might be appropriate. And this one's asking us by month and by hours. And this one kind of knows that we need architect and analyst work more upfront, where we need QA and other aspects on the back end, meaning it's giving us some relative things that we can work with to formulate that initial resource plan that we might put in place. It can help us with the forecasting and trends on the financial aspect in OnePlan. It can help us communicate. For example, you know, help me write a project summary email to my manager. And as we go through here, based upon the data that you have in here, instead of you formulating a new email or a new narrative-based status report, it is basically writing here in email format a summary of where we are, talking about the objectives, talking about the progress and where we're at, some key metrics around the plan, the current effort at expenditure status, how we are on our KPIs and project health, and what we're working on next. So the idea is it's giving us that narrative in email format. You could also do the same thing just as in a plain status report narrative if you don't need it to be in email format. So it does very similar things across the board there. So let's wrap up with a summary and some next steps that possibly you can take. So to summarize our discussion today, product development has its own unique challenges for success in the organization, and that better alignment with strategy and the enterprise business architecture is needed for successful outcomes today. And that product portfolio management is needed, not just individual product management, and more agile approaches to become more responsive and deliver things more incrementally is important, and also helpful for us making more informed decisions. There's also increased complexity today, so the fast pace of change requires these enhanced methods and approaches, like more agile approaches and more portfolio visibility into those things. And the discipline of strategic portfolio management with strategic alignment has become important in all aspects of the business, including product development. And the introduction of advanced technologies, including generative AI, is adding to the degree of change in organizations, but it's impacting product development portfolios in a positive way. And OnePlan, hopefully we've shown you, provides end-to-end strategic portfolio management in the Microsoft Cloud that can be leveraged very nicely for product development efforts. Okay. Now, that being said, you know, this is what OnePlan does. You know, we are not a general software developer or systems integrator. We're consistently recognized as a market leader in portfolio management. Microsoft has recognized us 5 consecutive years as either their winner or their finalist for global project and product portfolio management. And we're also recognized by the folks like Gartner Group and Infotech Research and other software review sites that are out there in this discipline. We also offer free trials. So if you go to oneplan.ai/solutions, you can select any particular template that you'd like to evaluate, and we'll actually provide complimentary assistance for you on getting the most value out of those trials. Just reach out and engage with us on those types of things. Our trials are also available up on Microsoft's App Source at appsource.com. Now, you might want to try the product portfolio management stuff that I showed you today specifically, or if you want to expand to a broader strategic portfolio management realm, the most comprehensive piece out there is the strategic portfolio management. So feel free to try any of those, or if you're not sure what it is you should embark upon or how you should conduct this trial, just reach out to us. We're happy to support you at no cost or obligation. So OnePlan trials is one thing we can do for you. We're also willing to provide you what we call a roadmap workshop, which is a discussion of kind of your current state, where it is you'd like to get to, and you know what you think that future state looks like. And we can help you with what it might take to get you there, both technologically and process-wise, to get there. You may already own much of the technology that you need, and OnePlan might be something incremental to what you're already doing today, since we connect with so many other existing tools. If you're not there yet, though, we're happy to just conduct a more in-depth demo. I gave you a very high-level run-through today. If you want a more personalized one-on-one demo, we're happy to do that for you. Just reach out and engage with us at contact@oneplan.ai. And if you're not even there yet, just go to www.oneplan.ai and you can research a little bit more about us and our offerings. So with that, I'd like to thank you for taking time out of your valuable day. We really do hope we can engage with you. Bringing all this information into a common hub like we talked about is a need to have a comprehensive centralized data set to make all these decisions and manage execution, and is really important in this day and age. We call that the power of one. So you can either reach out to the general contact line. If you want to reach out to me, feel free. I'm always happy to entertain. So just let us know if we can be of assistance in this area. So with that, have a great day.